The candle flickered between us, or rather between me and the empty chair where my wife should have been sitting. Marcello's hadn't changed in 6 years. Same white tablecloths, same soft jazz playing in the background, same corner booth where I'd gotten down on one knee and asked Lauren to marry me. The waiter had been hovering for 20 minutes now, refilling my water glass with increasing awkwardness. I checked my phone again. 7:23 p.m. Our reservation was for 7 sharp. Sir, would you like to order an appetizer while you wait? The waiter asked. His smile practiced, but I caught the pity in his eyes. He'd seen this before. Husbands abandoned at anniversary dinners, birthdays forgotten, promises broken over candlelit tables. Just a whiskey, I replied. Neat. The amber liquid burned going down, but it was nothing compared to the fire building in my chest. I pulled out my phone and typed, "Where are you?" Reservation was for 7. Send. The blue checkmark appeared instantly. Message delivered. No response. I found myself remembering how we met 8 years ago at Sarah's housewarming party. Lauren had been laughing at something her friend said, head thrown back, auburn hair catching the light. She wore this emerald dress that hugged her curves perfectly. When our eyes met across the room, everything else faded. We spent 3 hours talking about travel, food, books. She'd backpacked through Europe after college. I'd done a month in Southeast Asia. We bonded over our mutual obsession with authentic carbonara and our shared dream of seeing the Northern Lights. Our first date lasted 14 hours. Coffee turned into lunch, lunch into a museum visit, museum into dinner, dinner into drinks, drinks into walking the city until sunrise. By month 3, she had a drawer at my place. By month 6, we were talking about rings. The proposal was perfect. Right here at Marcello's, her favorite restaurant. I'd hidden the ring in her tiramisu, cliché, but Lauren loved romantic gestures. Yes. Yes, of course. She had cried that night, tears streaming down her face as the entire restaurant applauded. The owner had sent over champagne. We were golden, untouchable, invincible. Our wedding was everything we'd dreamed of. Outdoor ceremony at the Botanical Gardens. Sunset vows, Lauren in a flowing white dress that made my breath catch in my throat. The honeymoon in Santorini was pure magic. Azure waters, whitewashed buildings, making love on terraces overlooking the Mediterranean. For 4 years, we were that couple everyone envied at dinner parties. We had good jobs, me as a financial consultant at Meridian Investments, Lauren as a project coordinator at a marketing firm downtown. Every January, we'd plan our big vacation. Costa Rica for zip-lining and rainforests, Barcelona for architecture and tapas. We talked constantly about upgrading from our modest 2-bedroom house to something with a backyard for kids. I want to wait until I make senior coordinator, Lauren would say. More money, better benefits for when we have babies. That makes sense, I always agreed. Everything felt right, perfectly timed, beautifully planned. But 6 months ago, something shifted. Lauren started working later, not just occasional deadlines, but 2-3 nights a week. The intimacy dried up, not just sex, but the small touches that made us us. No more morning kisses while she got ready for work. No more curling up against me during Netflix binges. When I tried to talk about it, she blamed work stress. The company is expanding, she would say dismissively. New clients, major deadlines. You know how it is. I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. My phone buzzed. Finally, so sorry, babe. Stuck at office. Major client presentation tomorrow. Can we reschedule? I stared at the message. The emoji felt like a slap, forced cheerfulness pasted over a lie. Something in my chest hardened, crystallized into cold certainty. I signaled the waiter, canceled our entrees, paid for my whiskey, and left. In the parking lot, sitting in my car, I pulled up Lauren's company website. I clicked through to the staff directory, scrolling until I found her boss, Greg Holloway, 41, director of marketing, married. In the photo, his smile was too white, too confident, too familiar. I started the engine. On the drive home, one thought burrowed into my mind like a parasite. What if she's not at the office at all? When I got home at 10:47 p.m., the house was dark. Lauren's car wasn't in the driveway. She didn't come home until 12:23 a.m., and when she did, her blouse was buttoned wrong. The next morning, I woke to an empty bed and the sound of running water. Lauren was already in the shower, unusual for her. She typically hit snooze 3 times and rushed to get ready. I lay there analyzing every detail from the night before. When she'd finally come home at 12:23 a.m., she'd kissed my forehead. I'd pretended to be asleep and whispered, "Sorry, babe." But her perfume was wrong. Not the vanilla and jasmine scent I'd bought her for Christmas. This was heavier, muskier, masculine. The next 3 weeks became a masterclass in marital decay, each week worse than the last. Week 1 nearly broke me. Wednesday night, after a dinner where we'd barely spoken, I reached for Lauren in bed. Not aggressively, just the gentle touch that used to lead to laughter and tangled sheets. She stiffened like I'd shocked her. "I'm exhausted, Nathan." "Please," she said without looking at me. The rejection hit like a physical blow. I pulled my hand back, heart hammering. Thursday, desperate to salvage something, I suggested a weekend getaway. Just us. No work, no stress. "Maybe that bed and breakfast in wine country you loved," I offered hopefully. Her eyes didn't meet mine. "I can't. We have a huge pitch next Monday." "It's Thursday." "The pitch is Monday. We could leave Friday afternoon, come back Sunday." "Nathan, no," she interrupted sharply. "I need to prepare. This is important for my career, her career. When had it become more important than us?" Week 2, the late nights intensified. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. She rolled in past 11 p.m. each time, exhausted and distant. Tuesday night, something snapped. At 9:30, I called her office, hands shaking. "Meridian Marketing, this is Jennifer," a cheerful voice answered. "Hi, I'm trying to reach Lauren Brooks." "This is her husband," I said carefully. "Oh, everyone left by 6:30 today, sir." "The office is locked up," she replied matter-of-factly. My stomach dropped. "Are you sure?" "Maybe she's in a conference room?" "No, sir, I lock up myself." "Building's been empty for hours," she confirmed. When Lauren came home at 11:15, I was waiting in the kitchen. "How was the office?" I asked casually. She didn't hesitate. The lie rolled off her tongue like silk. "Crazy. We were there until just now. Greg had us reviewing the client account until we could barely see straight." Greg. She'd never mentioned working directly with Greg before. I started checking things, small things at first. Her car's odometer showed 47 extra miles one day when her office was only 12 miles away. Her phone, previously an open book between us, suddenly required a passcode. Most damning was the receipt that fell from her jacket pocket while I was hanging it up. The Meridian Hotel Restaurant. Last Thursday, 8:47 p.m. She told me she was working late that night. Week 3. I became someone I didn't recognize, a detective in my own marriage. Wednesday at 7 p.m., I drove past her office. Her car wasn't there. My pulse hammered as I circled downtown, some sick part of me hoping I was wrong, that I'd find her car at the office after all. I found it at the Meridian Hotel. I parked across the street, hands gripping the steering wheel. 45 minutes felt like hours. Then Lauren emerged with a man in an expensive suit, Greg Holloway, exactly as he looked in the company photos. They weren't touching, but everything about their body language screamed intimacy. His hand hovered near the small of her back as they walked. She threw her head back, laughing at something he said, the same laugh that had captivated me 8 years ago. I drove home in a haze, poured myself a scotch, and made a decision. Friday night, Lauren initiated intimacy for the first time in months. She was aggressive, almost desperate, like she was trying to erase something. My mind raced. Guilt? Cover-up? I froze, pulled away. "I'm not feeling well," I said flatly. She looked genuinely surprised, then hurt. "Oh, okay." I turned over, heart pounding. The thought burned through me. "I'm not touching you until I know where you've been and what you've done." The next morning, I opened my laptop and searched private investigator infidelity proof near me. The top result was Raymond Cross Investigations. I stared at the phone number, finger hovering. Then I dialed. Raymond Cross's office occupied the second floor of a strip mall between a tax preparation service and a nail salon. No nameplate on the door, just a number. The kind of place people visited when their lives were falling apart. Raymond was mid-50s, with the tired eyes of an ex-cop who'd seen this story play out 1,000 times. His office was Spartan, Metal desk, 2 chairs, filing cabinets, and a coffee maker that looked older than my marriage. "I think my wife is having an affair," I said, voice hollow. The words felt surreal leaving my mouth. He pulled out a yellow legal pad. "Tell me everything." I laid it all out, the late nights, the lies, the hotel, Greg Holloway. Raymond took notes in shorthand, asking occasional clarifying questions. No judgment, no sympathy, just business. "What's your goal here?" he asked when I finished. "Some people just want to know for sure. Others want ammunition." I didn't hesitate. "I want proof. Explicit, undeniable proof. The kind that ends her credibility completely." Raymond nodded slowly. "That'll take time and money. Basic surveillance. Photos of them meeting, entering hotels. That's straightforward. But if you want bedroom documentation, that's significantly more difficult and expensive. Hotel security, privacy laws, technical challenges. I don't care what it costs," I replied firmly. "I need everything." "Understood." "Give me 2 weeks," he said, sliding a contract across the desk. The retainer was $3,500. I wrote the check without blinking. Returning home that evening felt like entering enemy territory. Lauren was in the kitchen making dinner. Pasta primavera, my favorite. The domesticity felt obscene. "Hey, babe, thought I'd cook tonight," she chirped, stirring the sauce. She was smiling, affectionate, the loving wife I'd married. I recognized it now, a guilt cycle. After her late nights with Greg, she'd overcompensate with sudden bursts of attention. "Smells amazing," I replied, playing along perfectly. I complimented the meal, asked about her day at the office, kissed her goodnight. The facade was exhausting, but necessary. I couldn't tip my hand. 1 week passed like walking through quicksand. Raymond sent a preliminary report via encrypted email, 16 documented instances of Lauren meeting Greg at various locations, restaurants, bars, 2 different hotels downtown. The photos were damning but not explicit. Kissing in parking lots, Greg's hand on her lower back, Lauren laughing with her head tilted back in that way that used to be mine alone. I forwarded everything to my cloud storage, then deleted the files from my phone. The paranoia was consuming me, checking my browser history, clearing my call log, acting normal while my world collapsed in high-definition detail. The second week nearly broke me. Wednesday night, Lauren tried to initiate intimacy again. I was trapped, refused too often, and she'd know something was wrong. I gave in, but it was mechanical, hollow, my mind racing with images of her with Greg. Afterward, she curled against me. "I love you," she whispered. I stared at the ceiling, silent. The words stuck in my throat like broken glass. "Day 12, Raymond called. "I've got what you need." "Can you meet tomorrow?" he asked. "What time?" I answered immediately. "Noon." "Come alone." I took a long lunch, hands shaking as I drove to his office. Raymond handed me a flash drive like he was passing state secrets. Hotel surveillance from Monday night. They were at the Meridian. "I've got external shots of them entering, time-stamped, but also—" He paused. The hotel room window faced the parking structure. I was able to get clear documentation through the sheer curtains with a telephoto lens. "It's explicit. No ambiguity." My hands trembled as he inserted the drive into his laptop. The photos loaded slowly, each one a nail in the coffin of my marriage. Lauren and Greg, naked in bed, unmistakable positions, faces clearly visible. My stomach lurched. Seeing the suspicion confirmed in high-resolution color was different than imagining it. "There's more," Raymond continued. 6 separate encounters documented. Timestamps, locations, credit card receipts Greg used for the rooms. "This is airtight." I closed the laptop, breathed deeply. "Send me everything." "Encrypted file. Secure server." "Will do," he confirmed. That afternoon, I contacted Margaret Sinclair, a divorce attorney a colleague had recommended after his own brutal divorce. I forwarded the evidence. Margaret called within an hour. "Mr. Brooks, this documentation is overwhelming. With fault-based divorce laws in this state and evidence this clear, you'll retain all marital assets. She'll have no leverage whatsoever," she explained professionally. "Good. Draft the papers. But don't file yet. I'll tell you when and where to serve her," I instructed. "That's unusual. Most clients want this over quickly," she noted. "I want it over strategically," I replied coldly. That weekend, I went shopping. I bought a large decorative gift box, elegant wrapping paper, silk ribbon, and a dozen red roses. The checkout clerk smiled. "Someone's lucky," she said cheerfully. I smiled back, said nothing. The plan was coming together. Monday morning arrived gray and cold, matching my mood perfectly. I woke before Lauren, watching her get ready for work with new eyes. She was actually humming, as she applied makeup with extra care. "Big week?" I asked casually, sipping coffee like a loving husband. "Yeah, we're presenting the Hartman campaign today. Huge deal for the company," she replied excitedly. She kissed my cheek, her lips soft and warm. "Wish me luck." "Good luck," I said, tasting bile. "You're going to need it." After Lauren left, I moved with military precision. I opened Raymond's encrypted files and selected every explicit photo, 47 images total, documenting Lauren and Greg across multiple hotel encounters in various states of undress and intimacy. Each image was time-stamped, geotagged, irrefutable. I sent them to a professional photo printing service downtown, 8x810, glossy finish, express pickup. By 10 a.m., I had them in hand. I spread them across our dining room table, the same table where we'd planned our wedding, discussed baby names, shared countless meals as a happy couple. Now it displayed the gallery of her betrayal. I forced myself to look at each photo, letting the anger crystallize into cold resolve. The woman in these images wasn't the Lauren I'd married. This was a stranger who'd been living in my house, sleeping in my bed, lying to my face for 6 months. I arranged the photos carefully in the decorative gift box, the most explicit ones on top so they'd spill out first when opened. The box was beautiful. Elegant paper, perfect corners, silk ribbon tied in a precise bow. It looked expensive, thoughtful, romantic. At 1 p.m., I called Margaret Sinclair. "The papers are finalized?" I asked. "Yes, ready for service," she confirmed. "I need your process server." Today, 2:30 p.m., Lauren Brooks at Meridian Marketing downtown, 6th floor. He needs to deliver 3 things in this exact order: a bouquet of red roses, a gift box, and the divorce papers. In front of her colleagues. Margaret was silent for a long moment. "Mr. Brooks, this is highly theatrical. Are you certain?" "Completely. I want everyone in that office to see exactly who she is," I replied without hesitation. "Understood. I'll brief David Lawson. He's our most professional server. But Nathan, once this happens, there's no taking it back," she warned. "That's the point," I said firmly. I also drafted 3 emails, scheduled to send at 2:35 p.m., 5 minutes after the delivery. To Meridian Marketing's HR department, subject line, "Policy violation, evidence attached," with all 47 photos and documentation of Lauren and Greg's affair, noting timestamps during work hours and misuse of company time. To Michelle Holloway, Greg's wife, subject line, "Your husband's activities," with full photo documentation and hotel receipts. I'd found her email through Greg's LinkedIn profile. To Robert and Karen Mitchell, Lauren's parents, subject line, "You need to know," with a brief explanation and 3 of the most damning photos. At 2:15 p.m., I sat in my car 3 blocks from Meridian Marketing, hands steady for the first time in weeks. My phone buzzed. David Lawson texting, "In position." Proceeding in 15 minutes. I imagined the scene. Lauren at her desk, surrounded by co-workers, probably reviewing final presentation details for the Hartman campaign. The office buzzing with Monday energy, coffee cups and keyboards. The comfortable rhythm of corporate productivity. David walking in, professional and polite, carrying roses and a beautifully wrapped gift box. "Delivery for Lauren Brooks," he would announce. The office would go quiet. Who doesn't love getting flowers at work? Lauren would be confused, but pleased, maybe assuming I was trying to make up for recent distance. She'd open the card first. "For my loving wife, all your hard work deserves recognition. Love, Nathan." Then the box. The ribbon falling away, the elegant paper rustling. The lid lifting about 30 p.m. My phone buzzed with David's message. "Package delivered." Subject opened box in front of approximately 15 to 20 colleagues. Significant reaction. Papers served immediately after. I'm clear. I closed my eyes, breathed deeply. It was done. 8:35 p.m. The scheduled emails fired automatically. My phone remained silent. I'd blocked Lauren's number, but I imagined the chaos. HR convening emergency meetings, Michelle Holloway opening that email and watching her world collapse, Lauren's parents staring at their phone in horror. 4:47 p.m. I drove home slowly, savoring these last moments of calm. I'd already changed the locks, new deadbolts installed Sunday evening while Lauren was at the office with Greg. I'd told her I was visiting my brother. Inside, I methodically removed every photo of Lauren from the walls. 8 years of memories went into cardboard boxes. Our engagement party, the wedding, honeymoon selfies, anniversary dinners. I packed her clothes into garbage bags and stacked them in the garage. I changed banking passwords, contacted the mortgage company to remove her access, secured all important documents. At 4:23 p.m. through the window, I saw Lauren's car screech into the driveway. She ran to the door, key in hand. It didn't work. She tried again, panic rising, then pounded on the door. "Nathan! Nathan, open the door!" she screamed desperately. I walked to the window, pulled back the curtain. Our eyes met through the glass. Her face was destroyed, mascara streaking, eyes swollen, desperate and wild. "Nathan, please!" "I'm so sorry." "It was a mistake. Please give me another chance," she pleaded, voice breaking. My voice was cold, muffled through the glass. "A mistake? You f***ed your boss for 6 months. That's not a mistake, Lauren. That's a choice. You chose him every single night you lied to me. Please. I'll end it. I'll quit. Just let me explain," she begged frantically. "Explain to your HR department. Explain to Greg's wife. Explain to your parents. They all got the photos, Lauren. All 47 of them," I replied without emotion. Lauren's legs buckled. She collapsed on the porch, sobbing. "Oh, and Lauren, enjoy finding a new job. I made sure everyone knows who you really are," I added before closing the curtain. I walked away. Behind me, Lauren's screams were muffled by the new insulated door. As I poured myself a scotch, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. A text message. "This is Karen Mitchell. What you did to my daughter is unforgivable. We're coming over." I blocked the number. 30 minutes later, a car pulled into my driveway. Karen and Robert Mitchell arrived at 5:47 p.m. in their silver Honda Accord, the same car they'd driven to our wedding rehearsal dinner 4 years ago. I watched through the window as they helped their sobbing daughter into their car. Lauren was still begging them to take her back to me, to help her fix this. Karen's face was granite. I didn't open the door. I simply watched them leave. Later that evening, Margaret Sinclair called with updates that felt like battlefield reports. "Nathan, the HR email had immediate effect. I'm hearing through professional channels that both Lauren and Greg have been suspended pending investigation. The company is furious. Apparently they were using company resources, meeting during work hours, even charging some hotel rooms to corporate cards for client entertainment," she reported. "Good," I replied. "There's more. Michelle Holloway's attorney contacted our office. She's filing for divorce and specifically wanted to thank you for the evidence. Apparently she'd suspected for months but never had proof. She's going for full custody and maximum alimony," she continued. I felt no satisfaction, only exhausted relief. "What about Lauren?" "She's tried calling my office 14 times since 3 p.m. I've instructed staff not to accept her calls. She has no legal ground to stand on. The evidence is irrefutable. If she contests anything, we go to court, and those photos become public record. She won't risk that level of exposure," Margaret explained. That night, my phone rang. Robert Mitchell calling from a different number I hadn't blocked yet. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Nathan," his voice was broken, "aged 10 years in 1 day. I'm calling to apologize." "Robert," I started. "Let me finish," he interrupted. We went home after picking up Lauren. She tried to explain to minimize it. "It was just a few times. It didn't mean anything. Nathan's overreacting." "But then your email arrived." His voice cracked. "All those photos. We saw the timestamps, 6 months of lies. 6 months of betraying the man who loved her." I stayed silent. "I slapped her, Nathan. My daughter. I've never hit her in her life, but seeing those images," he choked up. "Karen and I raised her better than this. We taught her values, integrity, respect for marriage. To see her like that, to see what she did to you and your marriage, She's not welcome in our home, not now, maybe not ever. Where is she now? I asked. We dropped her at a roadside motel. Paid for 3 nights. That's all we could stomach. She kept crying, begging us to help her fix it, to call you, to make this go away. Karen told her, his voice hardened. Karen told her there's no fixing this, that she made her choices, and now she lives with the consequences. Robert hung up. I sat in the dark living room, the house silent except for the clock ticking, marking time in my new reality. Over the next 2 days, the fallout accelerated like an avalanche. Day 2. Meridian Marketing's HR completed their investigation with corporate efficiency. Both Lauren and Greg were terminated for violation of company ethics policies, misuse of company resources, and creating a hostile work environment. The terminations were with cause, meaning no severance, no references, their professional reputations obliterated. Day 3. Michelle Holloway's divorce filing became public record. Greg's father, a prominent local businessman, learned about the scandal through social media gossip. His response was swift and public, a Facebook post disowning his son. I did not raise a man who destroys families, he wrote. Margaret informed me that Greg and Lauren had tried contacting each other, but Michelle's attorney filed a restraining order preventing any communication between Greg and the other woman. They were cut off from each other. The affair that destroyed their lives couldn't even offer mutual comfort. Lauren's carefully curated social media life evaporated. Friends who'd celebrated her promotions and anniversary posts blocked her. Her image as the successful, ambitious professional dissolved overnight. I watched it all from a distance, detached. I felt no joy in their suffering, but no regret either. Just emptiness where my marriage used to be. 3 days later, I found a handwritten letter slipped under my door. I stared at it for 3 days before finally opening it. The words inside were desperate, broken. I read it once, then burned it in my fireplace without responding. 60 days later, the divorce was finalized. Lauren didn't contest. Her attorney advised it was pointless with the evidence Margaret possessed. I retained the house, all savings, investments, everything. Lauren received nothing except the clothes I'd bagged in the garage. Through mutual acquaintances, I learned about Lauren's aftermath. She'd left town quietly, like a criminal fleeing the scene. Moved to Kansas City using her maiden name. Couldn't find work in marketing anywhere. The scandal followed her online, viral in professional circles. She was working retail at a Target, living in a studio apartment, alone. Greg Holloway's destruction was more complete. Michelle's divorce was vicious and thorough. She received full custody of their 2 children, 8 and 6 years old, who now knew Daddy had hurt Mommy and broken their family. She got the house, aggressive alimony, punitive child support. Greg's father made good on his public disownment, cut off the trust fund, removed him from the family business. Greg had fled to Portland, trying to rebuild from nothing. I heard through the professional grapevine he was working at a small tech startup, making 1/4 of his former salary. Lauren and Greg never contacted each other again. The affair that destroyed everything between them dissolved the moment real consequences arrived. Whatever they thought they had wasn't strong enough to survive the wreckage they'd created. I sold the house, too many memories embedded in every wall, and moved across town. I bought a small condo, modern and clean, with no ghosts in the rooms. A colleague asked how I was doing 6 months later. I considered the question carefully. I'm not happy yet, but I'm not destroyed either. That's enough for now, I answered honestly. I started therapy, not because I was broken, but because I wanted to understand how I'd missed the signs, how to trust again someday. The therapist told me betrayal is a choice the betrayer makes, not something the betrayed causes. I rejoined my gym, started reading again, took weekend trips to visit my brother. Small steps forward. 10 months after the divorce, I was having coffee when a woman at the next table smiled at me. I smiled back, genuine, if cautious. We talked for 20 minutes. She gave me her number. I didn't call immediately, but I kept the number. One morning I woke up, made coffee, and realized, for the first time in almost a year, I hadn't dreamed about Lauren. The nightmares were over. I was finally free.